biofeedback technology. So I thought it'd be fun. People do video games, live stream. I thought it'd be fun to do a session with an Oberon, which is another quantum biofeedback tool. And unfortunately, I really, okay. All right, so we're streaming live. So hello, everybody. And hello to everybody on YouTube. And let's just go ahead and see if we can make some sense of this here. So next week on the podcast, I wish I knew how to work a PC. Let's try to get the website up here. Okay, next week on the podcast, we're actually going to be joined by Karen Reifinger from New York, and she's going to be talking all about the EES system, the energy enhancement system, and how she uses that along with her Genius. So for people who have been interested in scalar system, they want to know more about it, we're going to talk all about it. She's had one for 13 years. Now today on the live stream, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show something called an Oberon, and then we'll be back with guests next week. And then the following week, we've got another Genius practitioner, Missy Eiton from Minnesota, and she's going to be talking about her practice and what she does in addition to the Genius. Oh, this is really not ideal on a PC. So, all right, let's see if we can make some magic happen here. What is going on? Just not easy to grab this. Okay, let's make sure we record this. Okay, and let me know if you can hear my voice, okay? There, I stopped it for a second. It's got the microphone. It should have my speaker. Let me just see if it'll recognize it. For some reason, there we go. You wouldn't believe what's happening here. Okay, let's just go ahead and get that. See if we can microphone that's a little bit better. Okay, thank you all for joining me in the chat. I think you'll be happy that you jumped on. And so the first thing thank you so much for letting me know the sound is good. Really appreciate it, Deborah. Thank you. Let's see if we could stop the screen share for a minute. Okay, and what we want to show on camera here is, I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is, and actually works on the meridians. And so if you have the Genius, this will work nicely in conjunction with, there we go. It'll work nicely in conjunction with your your meridian program on the Genius. I guess you have to hold that down. And so you hold this down to the actual meridian point, and it will give the meridian a little bit of a jolt. And you could do this on, you could work on yourself. I'm looking at the wrong camera. You can use that on yourself as you're working on someone. So let's hold that up again. So it's this really interesting LED meridian, and it's going to give a little bit of a stimulation to the acupressure or acupuncture point. And so you could find the point with your Genius. Of course, this is all your own self-administered care. And then you could go ahead and utilize this. It's an LED meridian acupoint. There we go. And then it administers a little tiny stimulation point. There we go. Could feel it to the actual meridian. So that's one thing we have. And so what you could do is you could use that to open up the point on yourself, and you could find the point that is actually out of balance on yourself. And you could utilize that to stimulate the point, to open up the energy. And it's a little bit different from using acupressure. So it's a little bit different from acupressure or moxibustion. And these aren't very expensive. You can actually just find them online. You could just look up LED, acupoint, meridian stimulator, and anybody can get one of those and just go ahead and work on your points. I've always said, I think acupuncture is great, but not everybody can afford it. And it'd be pretty cool to be able to learn to utilize that on yourself. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. The other thing is, I wonder if you've ever seen one of these. So this was actually from traditional naturopathic medicine back in the 1920s and 30s. And they actually called this like a quack tool, and said it's actually a Tesla tool. and it generates an electrical flow, actually generates ozone at the tip here. Let's see if we can see what this looks like. And this is a neon gas right there. And so what you're getting right at the tip there is you're getting generation of ozone, and you can actually do a little bit of a stimulation here. And people use this for skin, for acne, for different types of skin conditions. And oh, there you go. So Betty says she uses it on her acne clients. So actually, that's great, Betty. That's great to know. Is it? We could even invite you on here to talk with us about it if you want to, or we can invite you by audio. Does it when you're utilizing, you can actually smell the ozone. And I think it's great for any place that you want to bring oxygen to, because when you bring ozone will break down into oxygen. And of course, we have there's the orange one, and then there's also an ultraviolet one as well, which is a little bit harder to see. And you can put that, to basically to improve the health of the skin. If you have age spots or marks, or like she said, acne, you can utilize that. So it's a high frequency generator is how you would look for it. And you can just find that online. And the purpose of it is to bring oxygen flow and circulation to places on the face. If you had age spots on your hands, any place on the body that you wanted to improve circulation and generally bring that high frequency energy and oxygenation, which if you put it at the point of the skin, it's really going to affect the entire body. So let's see what it says in the chat here. Yes, sometimes I can smell it. It works great. Okay, well, Betty, thank you so much. So these are some tools that are just in the area of frequency and energy that are just really fun to work with, whether it be an acupuncture LED meridian stimulator here, or any of these tools that come on the high frequency generator that could help to stimulate. This is pretty funny. This one is, do you know somebody who is losing, any gentlemen that are losing their hair? And so potentially you could just use this at the level of the hair. It's going to bring oxygen. It's going to bring flow. It's going to bring circulation. I don't know if we can actually see this one. Can kind of hear it. It's got that flow through there. So it's completely, you want to be careful with it, but it's completely non-toxic. And like I said, if you have any age spots or rosacea or other skin issues or things like that, you could use it. So Betty, that's great that that you work with it. I know that's all about you, is working with the skin. So that's wonderful. So the whole purpose of the frequency and energy, or the 5 frequency of 5 to 8 podcast, is to bring you new technologies. And we're going to bring a lot more. We're going to bring a lot more practitioners. And we want to talk outside of the world of the genius, because we want to relate it to the genius. And let's see. I have an old one. Mine is a very old one. Maybe that's the Oberon, or maybe that's the high frequency one. Yeah, they sell these online. Oh, there's a couple of other attachments that are pretty funny. So there's one like this, and this is one that you can just use for the face. So if you wanted to, if you think about it, because of the high frequency, I don't have it on, but that's going to tonify the face and maybe help to drain any lymphatic stagnation that you might have, or help with any skin issues. She said it helps with acne. So just really, really cool. The newer ones are better. This will go by the name Darvinsol. And so you could find that. And these are perfectly good. This one is about $120. This one, I'm not selling it or anything like that, but just so you know, you don't want to get a super cheap one, because that one usually will fizzle out and not carry the power that you need it to. So it's something like that's going to bring oxygenation. It's going to bring circulation. You could probably do a treatment once, every other day or once a day for the health of the skin, even for the health of the body, because that ozone that you're picking up is ozone that's being transmitted to whatever surface that it's touching. And the ozonation is going to bring oxygen. And where you bring oxygen, you usually bring healing. Okay, now let's see if we can get this back here. Okay, welcome everybody who's joining the podcast. We're going to be back with a guest next week when Karen Reifinger is going to join us to talk about the energy enhancement system. And then the following week, we're going to be joined by Missy Eiten. She's going to talk all about her healing practice. And Missy's actually going to talk about the SKIO. So Missy uses the SKIO. We really want to cross-pollinate and work with other technology. So today, I'm actually going to be showing you the Oberon. So let's see if I can get the Oberon to, I'm actually going to test myself with the Oberon, and you're going to see my test run through here. If it will, oh, maybe it won't start. Then that's going to be very, it's going to be very decrescendo then for today, but I can talk about a lot of other things. Let's see if it'll start up. And I'm going to need to wear these headphones. Those will look lovely on me, I'm sure. I'm going to need to wear these headphones while I'm doing this, because with the Oberon, I think they do have a remote session that they use. So let's see if we can just make the screen a little bit different. So they do have a remote ability now. I need to learn a little bit more. And while you're watching this, if you become interested in Oberon, I actually do, I do have an arrangement where I can help you to get an Oberon. So just get in touch with me personally, you know, Ariel at geniusbiofeedback.com. We don't promote them at the Genius, but we really want to expand out beyond the Genius and show and teach about other technologies, but also get to know other communities. So that's part of the reason. And I also just want to compare it. So I may run a Genius session on myself after this and talk about the things that are coming up. I already know some of the common things that come up when I do an Oberon session, and it's just a different form of quantum biofeedback. So I hope you'll enjoy this, and I really appreciate you stopping by and checking out the podcast. So let's go ahead, and if there's no good way to wear these, maybe we can do it like this, almost like that. Okay, so all right, so I have to deal with that. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get started here. So I've just got a test subject in, that's actually not what we want to do. That's not, hopefully not 79. Okay, let me just go ahead and get the right test card, because I just want to run it as a test client here. Let's go ahead and just do test person. All right, so we want to research. I'm going to bring up the screen in just a second. Let me just get this up and running. So the Oberon is originally from Russia, and oh, it is not letting me. This really, let me see if it'll bring up the Zoom. Okay, there's the Zoom. And will it let me go to the Zoom? I'm gonna have to exit out of here. I don't, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this because, oh, let me just not end the webinar. Let me just try this again. Okay, there we are. We're back in the Zoom. And so let me try the share screen, and it makes me do this whole thing again. All right, so now, phew. All right, so now we've got the screen. So this is an Oberon for anybody who's joining us. We're going to go through a session, hopefully, if I can get this to cooperate. And what this does is it goes through a whole series of different organs, and we're going to see the scores as it's going through. It's actually testing me through my energy, through the central nervous system, through the headphones, which is absolutely fascinating, which is why I think the headphones on the Genius are really powerful too in sending information to the central nervous system. Now let's see if this will work. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so it's starting to scan. And what you're seeing is some blue and red lines. And the blue and red lines, you generally want to see the blue line above the red line. So as long as that, and that, now let me talk about these little arrows that are showing up. So it's testing me in real time. And it's going to show up, it's going to have these little arrows, and the arrows are in a score. We can even pause it at different times, that are from 1 to 6. And those scores, okay, there's like that blue line, and the red line is sort of below it, but anything that the red line is above the blue line, that's more stress. And then you're seeing these little triangles that are coming up, and the triangles are scoring me between 1 and 6. And you're seeing some 3s and some 4s. And let's do it again. So that one, okay, what was that? That was, it's hard to see with this Zoom thing on here. There we go, the stomach wall. Okay. There we go. And let me see if it'll let me pause it while it goes through the scan in just a second here. So that's the pancreas and the spleen. So blue is kind of over red, and it's mostly giving me 3s, 4s, and a little bit of 2s. but I know that there's something that always comes up for me. Let's see if we see it. There it is. That's actually better. That's actually a lot better. So you see some 5s in there. And so that comes up for me and a lot of people. And so that would be the need for enzymes. And so we see some 4s and 3s and 4s maybe. And then this is the pancreas tissue. And this is some 3s and 2s and 3s. And this is the duodenum wall. And this is going to be some 3s and 2s. And then now it's scanning the intestines. And so it's going through all the different parts, and that's looking like some 3s and 4s. Okay, Adina, if you want one of these, get in touch with me, and I do quietly distribute these, so we can definitely set you up with one. So just let me know if you want my education and you want my assistance. If not, you can just do what everybody does, which is just try to figure it out. But if you'd like my assistance and help, if anybody's listening or watching this and wants my help, get in touch with me and I will help you with that. What I want to do is sort of compare and contrast to the Genius about, what the merits are and how it is. So looking at this, we're seeing some 3s and actually some 2s, which is good. And it's even showing the gallbladder. Let's see what happens if I am just this menu is a little bit, let me see if I can do this. I'm going to try to see if I can pause it. Nope. Let me pause it. It's sort of changing the view a little bit. Okay, let's see what this is next coming up here. That's the gallbladder wall. You see some, okay, there's the chole duct wall, which is going to be related to gallbladder. There's the appendix. And so that is like 2s and 3s and some 4s. Oh, we got a few, I can see those little 6s in there. And so to me, with the appendix showing that, that's more like needing to get some good gut microbiome, because it's probably related on that right lower side, related to the large intestine. So probably get some probiotics in there. So this one looks pretty stressed out because we see the red above the blue, and that's the gastric glands, usually not good for me. Let's see what we got coming up. This is a little bit better. And to be honest, I've been using that terahertz healer a lot, this terahertz healer. And I used it before and after a session, and my Oberon readings changed a lot after using the terahertz wand. So I think there might be something to this, just because my readings as I was experimenting and research really changed. So we've got a whole bunch of 3s here, and they've actually been improving over the last couple of weeks. When I first checked myself, it was not looking good. And I might be the terahertz, it might be the Genius, it might be just warmer weather that we're having. So it's this covering of the screen. I'm trying to raise it up so we can see what we're actually testing here. This is the bile duct. This is the ampulla vator. Ooh, something going on there. Look at that 6, which is ampulla vator, I think is related to the hepatopancreatic duct. So all the teeth. And this is the tracheae and bronchi. So non-smoker here. 3s, some 3s, some 2s, some 3s. And we're going to look at the analysis of this and how you can do a meta scan on it. And so this is the larynx, the transverse section of the larynx. Yeah, so Adina, this will search the full body. I'll just go from head to toe, and you can even program. I'll show you how you can even program and select other things, because this comes pre-programmed. You can actually add some things, but I love the visual aspect that it's sort of showing you how it goes through the whole body. And this is the lungs, that's the bronchi, this is the pulmonary tissue. It's giving you the reading here, so that's looking pretty good. And you can kind of see your progress over time too, or your client's progress over time. You can see how those little squares and circles improve. And so I can't always see it because it's raised up here. The nasal cavity, the mucosa of the nasal cavity. So the ones you want to be sort of concerned about are the 6s, and if you see a lot of 5s. but I'm seeing a lot of 3s and 4s, that's sort of normal for what you'll see. And so this is going to be the cross section of the kidney. Looking pretty good. And so you can sort of test yourself over time and see if things that you're changing in your lifestyle will improve it and make a difference. This is the ureter. So it goes through specifically women versus men, because obviously different things going on there. The bladder. And then we're going to look at a more detailed analysis. Now that looked pretty good for the bladder because you saw blue over red, which was pretty good. And then the bladder wall. How is it reading me? It's reading me through the headphones. So these are not listening headphones for our class today, for our podcast. This is actually the Oberon. This is the method of assessing. And as long as I have the headphones on, so I guess I should show you more here. And so it's interacting. Let me see if I can bring this over to the camera successfully. And it's actually interacting with this box. Now this box I can show a little bit better after it does its scan, but it is interacting with this. This is connected to the computer. And the Oberon, this is what has a lot of the guts of the analysis in there. And then it's interacting, like I said, with me through the central nervous system, which is fascinating. And I do find that these are very true to what people experience. So this is the ovary, and it's showing pretty good. That was, I think, like left ovary, uterine tube tissue. This should be the visit to the doctor, right? I mean, non-invasive, goes through every system, costs a reasonable amount of money, whatever the person charges for the scan. The only thing about this one, I haven't learned about the remote aspect yet. I understand that there is a remote aspect now. And it does generate reports, but I don't know the remote aspect, or I would try to test one of you. But right now I just know that it's the in-person one, but I'm going to try to find out there's a new version of it that I think does some remote work. But anyway, you do have to be connected through the headphones. So now we see the heart. And we've got some 3s and 4s, some 2s and 3s. And we're going to look at the actual analysis of all of this. And then I'm going to show you how it does a full correction. So that looks pretty good. The transverse section of the heart. I'm amazed that I actually got to broadcast through the Zoom. Okay, well, Adina, as soon as I get the long distance version, I would absolutely run one on you. I'm actually getting a different biofeedback system, another one that I'm going to share with all of you that does work through distance, so we can also partake of that and look at that as well, because we want to know all about these, how they work, how they're different from the Genius. Can we test before and after? Use the Genius, test before and after with this. We could test before and after with the Genius and test this in between. There's a lot of different cross purposes to all of these technologies. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And this is more arterial vessel. So the actual arterial vessel tissue. I might have to cut you guys out of a little bit of the screen at this. Okay, this is the vein vessel transverse section. I'm going to try to include everything here. That's really cool because you can see the lymphatics of the neck and giving you another cross section as well. Cerebral arteries, the lateral view of the right hemisphere. A little bit of 4s down at the bottom there. That's interesting because that could be because I'm just needing to do more yoga and really stretch the neck. And so it brings your level of awareness to lifestyle things that you might want to change, similar to the Genius and just in a little bit of a different way. Now, this is where you think I usually have some issues can come up. This one actually looks pretty good. There might be one more that you usually have some issues with. Now, there's a few on there. That's a little bit more 4s going on there. And this one, okay, that's actually okay. So it's really interesting just to be able to see what your score is so you can have to gain some new awareness. And then that's another thing, is that then I can take these things and then laser focus them with my genius. So if I see something going on with the vessels or something going on, I could take that and then laser focus my library work with the genius. So I think they go nicely together. This is the thymus gland. Oh, that looks a little bit challenged because look at those fours. So maybe some immune support. Okay, this doesn't look so bad, looks okay. The bone marrow, so you could find out about your bone marrow. And that's actually looking pretty good. So knock wood, thank goodness, you know. Blood cells. Mammary gland, the head and the neck and the lymphatic vessels. So thank God bless, that's all looking good. And then the mammary gland, head and lymph, neck, all looking pretty good. A little bit of threes there. So threes and fours are okay. That's all looking good. So the inguinal, the lymphatics. This is a lymph node. So sort of scanning the general health of the lymph node. And looking at the hypophysis. So that would be like the pituitary gland. Scanning the adenohypophysis is the front part of the pituitary gland. The neurohypophysis being the posterior part of the pituitary gland. I guess this is a translation from Russia where they're using sort of the old language for the anatomy. The hypophysis, the epiphysis, this is all in the brain. So the hypophysis, the epiphysis has to do with either pituitary, hypothalamus, but it's all looking pretty good. Hypothalamus, the nuclei of the hypothalamus. Here's the thyroid gland. And they got a few fours in there. That's interesting. And then here's the adrenal gland. All right, might be some adrenal stress there. The epinephros. I'm not sure if this is something in the brain. Epinephros. No, that must be part of the adrenal gland. It sounds like epinephrine. Epinephros, left view. Thyroid and the parathyroid gland. All right. Mammary gland, longitudinal section of the actual gland itself. Looking pretty good. The longitudinal section from the other side. The endocrine part of the pancreas, so the part that produces insulin. The cranial nerves. Oh, those are looking really good. That's like, I got a lot of twos on the cranial nerves. That's good. The cerebrum. Now, I think this is where I usually have an issue is in the neck screen. This is looking really good. And something of the posterior view, I don't know if it's the drainage. It looked better in the last time I scanned myself a few days ago. This is, okay, that looks really good. Twos and threes, like I said, are good. This is the one. The cranial nerves and the encephalon, the bottom view. Actually, this is looking better than I've ever seen it. Usually it's got some low of the higher numbers, so that looks pretty good. The cerebrum. And again, you're looking for that little glitch, the little graph that they do in the red and the blue. Let's see if we can follow it with the next one. Okay, you want to see that blue be on top of the red for the most part. So my sort of red on top of blue, that's going to be a little bit of stress. That's going to be a little bit of more sympathetic stress. The cerebrum medial surface. I mean, this is a scan, right? I mean, this is, you know, like for a doctor, if you went to the doctor and the doctor's like, okay, it's a checkup. And it's like, let's do the scan on you. It'd be like, you know, a lot more enjoyable, right? The doctor's office visit. It seems like it would be a lot more meaningful too. All right, so there we go. There's the spine. And another spinal view. So if there's any injury or issue with the spine, it might show up there. There's the back. The side view of the spine. I think it's sort of scanning the spinal segments. And it's almost at its end, but we're going to look at the analysis in just a moment. And so just another form of quantum biofeedback, just very interesting to learn about other different ways that things are done, and also relate them to the genius. And then it also can inform how we may want to do focused testing on the genius. So this is checking the, I think like the elbow joint, or maybe that's the hip joint. Oh, shoulder joint, yeah. Left shoulder joint. And then I think they say this is the joint surface. And the optic nerve. Now that's really interesting, right? That you can check the optic nerve and the eyeball. Now, recently I had something going on with my right ear, and, you know, blessings, it actually has resolved. Now, part of it is because I know all about EMFs, but for convenience, I was actually utilizing the good old wireless AirPods when I would go to work out at the gym, just for convenience. I don't wear them a lot, but then my right ear started to bother me, and I immediately stopped wearing them, and I was very worried. So, but actually showed this. Let's see what it shows here. It's so much better, but it showed some of those sixes in the right ear, and actually showed up on the analysis. This one looks good. So it was really fascinating. And since then, I've completely only worn wired headphones that, you know, because you can actually check with an acoustometer on those AirPods, and you can tell that they're very high level of radiation. Wasn't too intelligent, but again, when you go to the gym and you're just working out with the weights, all you want to do is like have your hands free and listen to your music and all of that. So I went back to wired earphones real fast. All right. So let's see. That was the aldosterone. So checking the aldosterone, which is a kidney hormone that regulates fluid balance in the body. Cortisol. So let's see what cortisol is doing. So cortisol actually looking okay. Amazing. Progesterone. And oh, not bad. Insulin. Sort of mixed, but okay, 3s and 4s. Glycogen, which is your store of carbohydrate in your liver. So how does that look? And cholesterol, which is going to relate to cholesterol. How does that look? You know how many lab tests and screenings and imaging you have to do to get this? Obviously, this isn't exactly equal, but I think it's another technology, just like quantum biofeedback, that gives us an alternative. Okay, research is done. So now we could go like this meta correction. It would actually make a whole bunch of corrections. And it just takes a few minutes. So it goes through all the different things that were wrong. And then, oh, I think I hit it by accident. Yeah, and it makes all these corrections. It's actually going through it anyway. But I wanted to, can I exit this? I think I can. Whoops. Wanted to go to this. Very, very good. So it's going to show all the different scores, and then we can we can kind of look through the scores. So let's go ahead and look through them, and we can review them. So if you have questions about the scores or anything you want to add, I'm having trouble just doing the Zoom. Okay. So if you have questions about anything that came up or anything you want to review, some of the numbers are very meaningful. And I'm going to go through them, but the ones that are of interest, hopefully I can scroll through this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so why is it doing that? Because I guess it's at the bottom. Is this, okay, there we go. So we want to look for something that might have come up that is in red here. So let's see if we go through this. We're looking for the color red. There we go. The ephronose, that was in red. And then, so we can do this sort of analysis, and we're going to see the overview of pathology that is coming up for me, which is just more functional things for me to look at and think about. But again, it's going to give me an entry point of things that I could go to my genius and then work on them. So we've got the right ovary. So we could look at that. And
like that could be like the start, of a cyst or just low energy in the ovary for whatever reason. And then, oh, this is itching me here. All right, there we go. All right, so the ampulla vator, I have to look that up. I think that's related to the gallbladder. So that looks a little bit concerning in there, but it's something that we can do something about. The pancreatic duct wall, like the things with the pancreas and the pancreatic duct, they're so common because we cooked food and because of stress in our lives. And then the pancreatic acinar. So we're probably going to look at that in just a moment. So the gastric glands right there, the transition of the esophagus to the stomach, the tongue papilla. Ah, that's really weird. I wonder why that is. That's a tongue papilla. So it's something that, again, I could take this into the Genius and work on myself on the Genius and maybe create a library for the tongue, the surface of the tongue. Now, here's the one that usually comes up in actually 6s, and I've moved to 5s and 4s, which is really good. Now let's look at this one. So what we're going to do, so you notice that it was in red, and let's see what time it is here. So, okay. So now what we would do is we go to research. Oh, no, that's not it. This is a little bit confusing about this. Go back to the card index. Okay, great. So what we do, okay, I know what we do is we click on this. There we go. Okay, so then it gives you a detailed report and allows you to look more deeply into different systems. So we can now click on microorganisms. So is there a microorganism in the pancreas? Oh, wow. It says that there could be. So look at this. It says there could be Giardia. And then we do something called an adjustment to sort of recheck the energy. It doesn't look that strong. So this could be something that maybe I was exposed to a long time ago, or I could do parasite cleanse. So this could be something that then I could run that frequency in the Genius for that. Now, here's the pathology part. Let's see what it says. Whoa, insulin-dependent diabetes. This is something that could be down the road. Hopefully it's not cancel, but it could mean that I need some enzymes. I need some, let's let me just do an adjustment here. Yeah, it's not that high. So it's more like very far down the road, but it's good to know. It's good to be careful. I mean, I am totally plant-based. I don't eat a high-fat diet, but that could be something that's weak that, I need to work on, or it could be under stress or something like that. So it doesn't mean that it is that thing, especially because if it's in blue, and if it's in blue after the adjustment, then it's not really a concern. But let's look at a couple of other things. So also you can do pathology and you can show all for what are the maximum things that you're working on. And so hopefully I'm not working on all of these things. Let's try the adjustment. This is really good to consider, all of these things, just a lot of gut stuff coming up. And I don't think that all of these are, true, but they'd be good to get tested. It says like tonsillitis. I mean, I don't think I have tonsillitis, but it would be good to run frequencies maybe for the throat. It's saying gastritis. I mean, that is something that I'm personally working on, is transitioning from any type of caffeinated beverage to herbal tea. And it's known, I don't drink soda or anything like that, but something like either coffee or tea can cause inflammation of the gut. And so that definitely could be going on. Let's show a few other things here. Let's go over to the other things that are coming up here. Let's go a little bit further here and look at this. So for me, I'm going to be running a lot of pancreas energy for myself, and I'm going to check it on the Genius. I don't know if we'll have time to do it today, but if you notice, it's not just me, it's everybody on the Genius comes up high pancreas and high liver, and it's both enzymes and endocrine. I mean, it could also be insulin because I haven't eaten very much all day today. So maybe it's a blood sugar high or blood sugar low. There's actually not a lot of other things coming up. So let's actually go back down here. Another signifier is things that are below the number 1. So if you look at this, like the pancreas tissue, so the front view of the pancreas was actually a 1.226, and that tends to be less of a concern than something that's under 1. So let's see if we can look at another thing like the gastric glands. So you see the gastric glands is 0.81. So here, this is probably leaky gut from doing things like coffee and tea. So something that I have to contend with. So that would be good. And also another thing I could use is glutamine to coat the gastrointestinal glands and to work on that. But, you know, good to know. So let's go ahead and let's click on it. And let's see if it tells us anything. I think it's just going to say gastritis. Yeah, this is all gastritis. This is all, as the doctor, I'm telling you, don't drink coffee because it causes a lot of inflammation of your gut. And you can see that right here. Doctor, heal thyself, right? Let's look at a few other things. Let's see if there's any let's unclick the pathology and let's click on microorganisms. So probably not any microorganisms in the gastric glands because that's blue and that's not very high. And then we can look at any biochemical. Let's see, let's click on this one. Oh, there's nothing coming up there. Okay, it gives you, this is more European. It gives you some, it says aloe, right? Like aloe vera and ginger. These, honestly, for the Oberon, they're not that great for American practitioners, just from the remedy perspective. But what this is aloe, linum. I'm almost thinking linum is flaxseed. And so this is aloe, and salvia is some type of herb. I should know it, right? There's ginger, and then althea is actually marshmallow, which is really good for, now you see these are in red. So these are the ones that you would really look at. Thank goodness a lot of other things are in blue, right? So these are the things you would look at and consider, but they're not, I think, as user friendly as they could be for American users. So you can figure out what some of the herbs are. So that's the, what was that? That was the phytotherapy, right? So let's see if there's anything else. The Nutravetics. See, no, most people don't know what that is. Then they've got trace elements. There's really nothing there. Organo preparations. So something to use for the pylorus, something to use for the cardia, for the heart, something to use for the gastric plexus. These would be like organotherapy or homeopathics that you could use. And then that can kind of also inform, you know, you can sort of back into what might be going on based on the different organotherapies that are coming up. Now, can we page down here? Let's see these vitamins indicators. I'm not sure what these are. These are based on the chakras. But you can see the gastritis coming up again. So that's something to continue to work on as I'm doing my own diagnosis and prescription here. All right, so let's see if there's anything else. It's just basically clicking all of them. I'm trying to click them individually. Now, there's other things that are coming up that are just like, you know, acetylcholine. So that's interesting. That could mean maybe supplementing with acetylcholine, thioglycolic acid, bovista, cysteine, acrylate, bird cherry, polyester. So I don't know what to do with all of these. That's a little bit of a downside of the Oberon. Is the only one that really makes sense is the pathology side. Let's see if we can get one more in here. So if we go to, let's exit here, go back to evaluate, then we have the meta correction. So you can make actually a meta correction right here, which is a form of treatment. It's like the Zoom, this is going nuts here. Sorry, let me just see if I can't actually look at the screen. Let me just exit here. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right. Zoom has you sort of make your own screen, which is why I sort of move this around all the time so I can see. And then if we go to, okay, so then we could go to anything else. So you can kind of see what the common themes are. They're actually, I'm glad to say there's not a lot coming up here that's in red, and they're sort of the same theme. They're around the pancreas and the gut. So that's sort of like the theme. And that's kind of cool because I kind of get my marching orders from here and I can kind of see what to look at. Let's see if there's anything that sort of is. Oh, okay, let's look at the thyroid, the spleen. I was going to try to look at the thyroid. We've got the lymphatics. There's that thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland was actually pretty good. It's a 1.6, so that's a good number. It's not in red or anything, but that being said, let's just go to let's click on it anyway, and then I'll show you how to do a meta correction and we'll sort of tie everything up with a bow. But if we go to that pathology, it does say hypothyroidism, so that'd be something to look at, right? And then everything else is in blue, so we don't really consider those. And then let's see if there's anything else. So let's look at that organo preparation. Thyroid gland, the cervical plexus, the laryngeal nerve, the recurrent laryngeal nerve. But these are things that you could take this and you could make a library for this and then run them on your Genius. Now, let me show you how I can actually make a correction here. So if we're in here, and there's a whole, actually an analysis. Let's see what people are saying here. I need to drop sinking so much coffee. You and me both. I'm trying to switch first black tea, then herbal tea, and then completely cycle off all of that stuff, right? Oh, did I lose myself there? What just happened? Did I exit out? Let's see. Oh, yeah, I lost myself there. Hang on one second. There we go. It's just the Zoom. Everything's all mushed together on my laptop here, trying to, because the Oberon is on my laptop. So that's why I wanted to do this. Okay. So now what we want to do is go here, and it actually does this thing called metatherapy. And there's a lot more that you can do. You can actually analyze this graph and make sense of it. And you can check for strong or decompensated, but let's just do this. It's a metatherapy. And it goes here, and then you can choose how many times do you want it to go through the thyroid. So you say X5, and then we say start, and it's going to work through the headphones energetically. What it does is it shows the thyroid the optimal frequency for a healthy thyroid. And so it basically blasts it energetically through the headphones to my whole energy field. And it says, correct the thyroid, correct the thyroid, correct the thyroid. It's basically telling my energy field, go ahead and resonate with the correct energy of the thyroid to try to restore it to the correct energy. And I think what it shows it at the end, if you look at this, this is not where we started. Let's look at another one. And then we're getting towards the top of the hour, but did you see where we started? We didn't start exactly here. I think we started with more, this is more like 2s and 3s. I think we started with 4s. So let's go ahead and let's actually choose something else. Oh, and it's interesting, kind of shows the different scan. I don't know if it's showing the results after you go through each one. Let's go ahead and let's go back to that lovely pancreas reading. And it did tell us it was more endocrine pancreas than exocrine pancreas. All right, so let's see if we can find it. There's the ovary. Pancreatic duct wall, the gastric glands. If I can't find the other one I'm looking for this one. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so let's go back. So we're going to click on that again. And now we're going to go to want to go here. It's not letting me see this. So I don't. I'm so sorry, but all of these things are, we're going to make this happen. So is this the one? Is this the meta connection? Let's see if it is. No. All right. Maybe I can move it here. There we go. That's you. Probably somebody was saying it's right there. I can't see it because the Zoom menu bar is covering it up. So let's try one more time. So what's going to do is, so late, we know it starts here. So we can see the 5s, right? And I actually used to have 6s. So this is good because energetically it has shifted. So now we go to the X5 and it's going to be showing my pancreas. Hopefully I have to hit start. Yeah. So now it's going to be showing my pancreas. It's going to say, hey, here's the correct energy for your pancreas. Here's the correct energy for your pancreas. And it's going to show it several times. Oh, thank you, Adina. You are a dear. And I couldn't see it below our control board for our Zoom, which is why I was having the trouble. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So how much improvement can it make through showing my pancreas? That was a big correction. Because you can see now it went from being very number 5, it really went to number 2. So that can show you how well you can actually respond in a meta correction. All right, let's do one more, and then we're going to sort of wrap it up. So if you have any questions, anything I can answer. And then next week, we'll be back talking about the energy enhancement system, which is a scalar broadcast technology. It's also $28,000. So just so you know, but I want to learn about it and I want to find out why. I think it's really interesting, and it kind of informs us that Karen Reifinger, she uses the energy enhancement system. She's had it for 13 years, but she still uses the Genius because she says it's not enough to just use the energy enhancement, the EES. You need the Genius as well. And so that's really speaks volumes about the Genius itself. So let's go to those. The last one we'll do here is the gastric glands. So we'll go to the gastric glands, probably inflammation from good old tea and coffee. There really are no other likely, because I eat a very hypoallergenic plant-based diet. Rice, sweet potatoes, vegetables, things like that. But that's my one little Achilles heel is coffee and trying to transition more to tea. And it shows you, it could probably show you through those glands. There's not really another likely candidate for why those would have that going on. So let's go back here. And now I think I can find that meta. It's just here. There we go. All right, so we're going to do that X5 again. So this week we've sort of just me solo exploring. Let's see if I have to hit the start. I always forget. So here we were at the 5s, a lot of 5s and some 4s. And let's see where we've got 5 meta corrections where it goes. So yeah, so we talked a little bit about Tesla technology through the high frequency Darwin cell, right, that you could use on skin. And we talked a little bit about doing a type of electrical pressure to the acupuncture points this week. And we'll be back next week for our interviews. And did it go through 5? And now this is very interesting. It didn't actually budge that much. So this is something, you know, that's interesting. So I want to go back and maybe create a Genius library on it and maybe get some Rife frequencies and just focus, well, make a juicy library, just focusing on the actual mucosa, the glands and the mucosa itself. They say that, you know, that can really happen from long-standing, if it's long-standing inflammation can really affect the gastric glands over a long period of time. So it'd be good to sort of do like a reset or a tune-up of the gastric glands. I don't think we saw it budge very much. Let's just, while we're winding up, let's just try one more meta correction. So you can do another one, and then let's do an X5. Let's just do one more and see what happens. And what does the sun and the moon mean? That is a very good question, Adina. Oh, what happened? I don't know why I keep, let's just go back here. So I think it maybe changed a little bit. So there's a little bit more, and I don't think it's budging, or it might be turning a little bit of that brown into, so that would be interesting to work on that. And so I'd work on it with the Genius, and then we'll have to come back and do a report about what happened afterwards, what happened as a result. Okay, well, that has actually been all about the Oberon and high frequency treatments and little bits of stimulators that you can use, right, for the acupuncture points. You know, that's why on the Monday class, that's why we're doing the Chinese Medicine Minute. Chinese medicine has so much to bring to us, and knowing the different acupuncture points that are of issue and being able to work on them and help yourself to open up those energies can be incredibly, incredibly helpful. So this is it. This is Dr. Ariel Policano with the Frequency of 528 podcast. I really want to thank everyone who joined us live. It's been so nice to have all of our lovelies and a lot of our regulars, Barbara and Ayana, Ellen, great to have you here, Lorraine, Patricia, Rob, it's been great. Hey, Sandy, nice to have you along. And Betty, of course, thank you, our resident esthetician. Really nice to talk and have something to talk about with skin. So we'll be back with new technologies next week, everyone. Take care and bye-bye for now.